There it is. Welcome everybody to our Tuesday Cafe Sizzle. We are, I'm so excited because Thanksgiving, of course, is coming, and everybody likes recipes and to share recipes and how many amazing foods are there. But a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this, I forget how awesome it is to add the oils to some of our recipes. And Amanda Whitman has agreed to come on here and share some of her really good stuff. And I would bet that she's got quite a bit of experience cooking since she's got a family of 9 and she knows how to cook. So I'm pretty excited to hear what she has to say and to share today.
So I love cooking. This is just something that I love, taking care of people, and cooking is one of the ways that I can take care of people really well. And if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. So when you come to my house for Thanksgiving, you will be stuffed and it will be good. So a few years ago, we started incorporating some more oils into our cooking. And so I'm just going to share 3 recipes with you guys today. But if you have something that you're like, oh, I'd really love to tweak my whatever, I will help you come up with a great recipe for that. Less is always more whenever it comes to oils. So, when you picture putting in a heaping tablespoon of cinnamon or something into like a sweet potato thing, you're going to need barely a drop of cinnamon essential oils. I will say for the things that are a little bit more barky or rooty, you are going to only use like the scantest of drop. Even the herbal oils like your cilantro or your basil, you might even want to start with a toothpick. And if you guys don't know the toothpick trick, you just take a wooden toothpick, you dip it into the top of your oil bottle, and there's usually enough residue there. And then you kind of take that toothpick and you swirl it in your recipe, okay? So the recipes that I have for you, oh, and then citrus oils. So citrus oils, you can play with those a little bit more, like to get that kind of citrusy flavor. You can add a little bit more of those, but still we're talking like maybe 2 to 3 drops. So imagine whenever you're putting your lemon and your 32 ounces of water, how many drops are you putting in there? 1, maybe 2, because lemon comes out really fast. But you can taste it through the whole cup of water, right? And that's a lot of water. So imagine how big 32 ounces is, and then trying to put that inside of, like a 8x8 casserole dish of sweet potatoes. Well, a little bit goes a long way, right? So the 3 recipes that I want to talk to you about today are my turkey, cranberry relish, and then I have a cocktail. I love having a signature cocktail for people whenever they come to an event at my house. I feel like it takes a whatever kind of situation and just like kicks it up a notch. And if you do not drink alcohol at your family gatherings or at your parties, that's okay. There are plenty of ways to create the idea of the signature cocktail without actually having alcohol. So like one of my first thoughts would be like, if you wanted to do like just like either a seltzer water or a Sprite or, some sort of like lemon lime soda with cranberries dropped in the bottom of that. And then doing lime and a fir oil. So like a Douglas fir or a Siberian fir, and even putting a sprig of a fir in there for garnish. It's beautiful and non-alcoholic. Now, if you want to add a little alcohol to that, you can always put in some vodka, right? Because sometimes holidays are hard and we need our helpers, okay? It's fine. Everyone knows that. So another thing that I wanted to touch on was I know that we kind of get into our, I don't want to say rut, but we have the way that we make mashed potatoes because that's the way that we've always made mashed potatoes. So what I want to encourage you is don't be afraid to branch out, right? It's okay to even have 2 batches of mashed potatoes because it's not going to hurt anything to have one that you're kind of experimenting with. That's kind of part of this mindset work that we're all trying to do. Or becoming, bigger people than we are right now. We can do maybe like a rosemary mashed potato and then make it like you've always make it, right? So we can have 2 and it's okay. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is an apple cinnamon sangria. Okay, so this is kind of a fall sangria. And I have all of these recipes. I'll show you right here. I made these in Canva, and I am going to post these PDFs into the cafe, so you guys will have these. So don't worry too bad about writing anything down. I thought about demonstrating all of this, and then I thought, yeah, that's a bad idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk through these recipes. I'll post the recipes later. And then if you have any questions, I am 100% happy to answer any questions for you, okay? So the first one I want to talk about is the sangria. So if you've never made a sangria before, it's basically you put fruit in a container and you top it off with wine. Now we're going to make it a little bit more exciting because we're going to use oils and it's fall. So we're going to kind of get, you know, some of those fall flavors in there. So this apple cinnamon sangria, the first thing I want you to do is take about a half cup or so of brown sugar. And I like light brown sugar instead of dark because dark is a little bit more sticky for this recipe specifically. There's other things I use dark for, so don't worry about that. But I like the light brown sugar, and you add 2 drops of cinnamon essential oil, okay? Now stir that all up with that brown sugar, get it basically marinating, okay, or, you know, getting a fuller flavor, and then just set that to the side. So that's going to be your rimming sugar for this drink. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to cut up 2 cups of apples. I like Granny Smith in the fall. I think that with the sweetness of this sangria, the Granny Smith apple really, you know, kind of brings out some of that, you know, tartness to it, and they balance each other out really well. Cube about 2 cups of apples. And you guys, sangrias are not an exact science. Sangrias are kind of like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And maybe I have 1.5 cups of apples, or maybe I have 4. And it doesn't really matter. We're not here for the apples. So put that in a pitcher, okay? Put your 2 cups of apples in the bottom of a pitcher. And then I'm going to have you add 1 to 2 bottles of white wine. And I know that's kind of a nebulous, kind of like 1 or 2 bottles. Look, y'all, I've got 7 children. There's no time for maybe this, maybe that. Maybe I had a glass last night, whatever. Pour it all in, okay? 1 to 2 bottles of your favorite, like Pinot Grigio. So something that's not too dry, but not too sweet, but then just kind of gives you that really bright flavor. And then I want you to put 2 cups of brandy in here. Okay, so give that a nice stir. So some white wine, some brandy, and then you're going to put then 4 cups of apple cider or apple juice. Again, we're not going to get sticky about this, okay? And I will also say these recipes, I'm throwing them out there as is, but if I'm not going to say things like get organic butter because it tastes better, because that's really pretentious. But if you are using organic butter at your house, just substitute whatever is in there. Later, I'm going to talk about Jell-O, okay? I stopped buying food dye about 9 years ago when we received an autism spectrum diagnosis for our 13-year-old daughter, and we don't have food dye in this house anymore, okay? So we're going to talk about that later, but don't worry. So if I say things like apple cider, I'm not saying to crush your own apples and make it, but I'm also not saying go to Target and buy the 99-cent apple juice, okay? We're going to be fine. So now we've got the 1 to 2 bottles of white wine. We've got 2 cups of brandy. We've got the 4 cups of apple cider or apple juice, 1.5 cups of pineapple juice. So if you've ever cooked with pineapple juice, you know it's super, super sweet. So now you're thinking, okay, that makes the 2 cups of brandy and the 1 to 2 bottles of wine seem a little bit more reasonable, right? And then we are going to put 1.5 cups of ginger ale in there. So it's giving us that brightness and that sparkle, but without the like any added sugar or anything like that. We've got plenty of sugar with the apple cider and the pineapple juice, right? And now I want you to take just 1 drop each of cinnamon and peppermint essential oil. Okay, so now stir that in. It's going to emulsify really well because of all the sugar that's in your juices. It really does emulsify really well, also in that alcohol that's in there. So you're not going to have oil sitting on the top. So now you've got your apples, the alcohols, the juices, and your essential oils. You've stirred it all up, and then you're going to put that in your fridge for at least 2 hours. I would recommend, this is one of those things where, you know, if you're thinking about fridge space and timing and the things you have to cook, this can easily be made ahead of time. All those juices and the fruit juices and the enzymes are going to protect your apples from getting brown. They're going to look great. Go ahead and make it a day ahead of time. This is not a big deal thing. So put it in your jar, put it in your, you know, whatever pitcher you pre-make things in, stick it in your fridge for at least 2 hours, up to overnight. And then whenever you serve this, you're going to wet the top of your wine glass. You're going to dip it in that cinnamon brown sugar mixture that you let sit. And then you are going to put some ice in your glass and then pour in the sangria. A mint leaf garnish looks really beautiful in this, as does like a really thin slice of red apple. So if you can kind of picture a glass of wine with like some thin sliced apples with that red, you know, skin on the outside, and then a couple of mint leaves for garnish. It looks beautiful. And you guys, this is like a cheating way to look like you know what you're doing, but you really don't. Because anybody can slice an apple, anybody can throw a couple of sprigs of mint in there, and anybody can dump a bunch of stuff into a container and then pour it out, okay? This one isn't even hard. This is a cheating one that makes you look amazing. Okay, the second one I want to talk about is a cranberry pineapple relish. We've been making this in our house for probably 10-ish years. It always gets rave reviews. So it's not the open a can and dump it out kind of thing. This is a really lovely dish that is not too hard to make, and it tastes amazing. You guys, this is so yummy. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to take a 20-ounce can of crushed pineapple. We're going to drain it, and I kind of like to push it through real good, right? Because we're reserving that juice, but I don't want a lot of liquid left in that crushed pineapple. So push it through your sieve really well. You're going to measure that pineapple juice that you've taken out of there, and then you pour water in to make it to 3 cups. Okay, so you need about 3 cups of liquid. You're going to heat up that liquid to boiling, and then you're going to pour that into 6 ounces of dry Jell-O mix. I'm saying Jell-O because we all know what that means. But a few years ago, Kraft Jell-O actually came out with a no high fructose corn syrup, no food dye, strawberry flavored Jell-O. And that has been a lifesaver for me because I used to have to go to Whole Foods. One year, this is a true story, I made my own. I crushed strawberries and added the real gelatin, and I made it all. And you guys, it was a lot of extra work and it kind of stressed me out. And then the next year, Kraft came out with this no high fructose corn syrup. I think it's called Simply Jell-O or something along those lines, that it's kind of maybe it's not the best because this isn't actually from ground up horse hooves, but maybe it's going to be okay and we're all going to be fine, okay? So I get the Simply Jell-O from Kraft, 6 ounces. So we're pouring that boiling pineapple juice and water mixture into the 6 ounces of strawberry gelatin, making sure it's nice and dissolved. And you guys have made Jell-O before, I'm sure. You stir it for 2 minutes and then there's no more bits and pieces in there. The next thing I want you to do then is open up a can of whole berry cranberry sauce. So this is the can of whole berry cranberry sauce, right? Open that up, dump it in, stir it all up. And now we're going to refrigerate this mixture for 1.5 hours. So it's not completely set, but it's getting there, right? So the next thing we're going to mix in is 1 Granny Smith apple diced really fine. And I take my time on this. I get a really sharp knife. It's 1 apple. You can take 5 minutes and dice it up really fine, okay? Especially because we're making this ahead of time. Yay! That's my favorite thing about some of these recipes is go ahead and make them a day or 2 ahead of time. So you're going to take that Granny Smith apple. You're going to dice it up super duper fine. Just take your time on this. And then we're going to mix that in, just 1 Granny Smith apple. And you're also going to mix in all that crushed pineapple that we took the juice from before. So mix in all that crushed pineapple, give it a good stir, get it nice and in there. And then I put in 2 drops each of wild orange essential oil and 2 drops each of lime essential oil. It gives it a very full, bright flavor. It makes it unique, but not in a weird way, just in a way that people would be like, oh, this tastes wonderful. So go ahead and mix that all in. And then you're going to refrigerate that for 4 hours. It'll be nice and set. It travels well. It doesn't get yucky. The leftovers are great. This is just an all-around great relish to have on your Thanksgiving table. Okay, now the star of the show, or maybe not. You guys, maybe, gosh, I think I started making this turkey in 2006. So 12 years ago. But before then, the turkey was kind of like the afterthought for me personally, because it was always kind of dry, and it was always kind of like, well, that's the protein that you have for Thanksgiving. But let's be realistic. Everybody's there for the mashed potatoes and gravy and the pie. They're not there for the turkey. Except, what if we could make it really wonderful? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to make a really wonderful turkey. Okay, so do you remember back when we were making that sangria, we went ahead and made something up ahead of time. So this is what you're going to do here. This is a spin of the Provence salt rub that doTERRA, I think, had on their blog. You are going to take about a half cup of a coarse ground sea salt, but not like the chunks of sea salt, right? So just like a coarser ground, but not the fine table salt, but also not chunks of salt. You're going to add 2 drops of basil, 1 drop of thyme, 1 drop of marjoram, 1 drop of rosemary, 1 drop of black pepper. So mix that all up. I put it like in a mason jar, like a 8-ounce mason jar. Give it a good shake, set it off to the side. Okay, that's step number 1. You can even make that a few days ahead of time and have it on hand. It makes a really great poultry rub. So whatever you're making, this makes a really great poultry rub, okay? Okay, now grab a turkey. Make sure it's thawed. If you don't have your turkey thawing already, get on your horse, girl. You need to go get your turkey thawing because it takes forever to thaw a turkey. It's a very thick, big bird, right? This recipe is very modifiable. I don't know if that's the right word. Able to be modified. There we go. This is able to be modified. That it really doesn't matter what size turkey you have. We're going to do the same recipe here, okay? So take your thawed turkey, and this is again on like your Thanksgiving morning. Now this is going to be a little bit different. So those of you who are set in your ways on how you make your turkey, or your mama made her turkey, just give me a second here, because I promise you this is the easiest way to make a turkey, and the most flavorful, and the juiciest. It gets rave reviews from everybody, even your picky brother-in-law, okay? I know from experience. So this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna take your thawed turkey, set it on the counter. You're gonna put your hands in between the skin and the meat. You're gonna get that skin stretched away from the bird, and leaving the skin intact, but giving it a nice stretch so it's separated as much as you can on the legs and on the actual breast and the whole deal of the bird, okay? So get that skin separated. Now you're going to take, I put on the recipe, and I made myself giggle with this, significantly softened butter, okay? So this isn't like just softened butter, and this isn't melted butter, but right before it's like that clear butter, but just like very soft, that's able to be spread, because that's what we're doing here, okay? So you're going to take significantly softened butter, and you're going to add, let me see what I put here because I want to be consistent. Just 1 drop each of rosemary and thyme essential oils, and you're going to mix that into the butter, okay? Now, you're going to take your hands, you're going to scoop out some of that butter, and you're going to put it on the meat of your bird, not the skin, the meat of your bird. You're going to put it on the legs. Wherever you stretch that skin out, you're going to get the butter in there, okay? Now you're going to wash your hands, because gross, you guys. It's so gross. I have to like steel myself to like, you can do hard things like touch a turkey carcass. So now you're going to wash your hands really well with On Guard soap, am I right? Okay? And then you're going to take that Provence rub that you made earlier, and you are going to put that all over the outside of the skin of the bird. Okay, so get it in every crevice, pat it on there, squeeze it in nice and good. So you've got your salt and your pepper and everything, because we're using black pepper essential oil. You're pushing that all over the bird, okay? So your oven is at 475 degrees, okay? Okay, 475 degrees. You are going to get your roasting pan, your turkey's in it, your oven's at 475, and you are going to cook that bird for 20 minutes. And you'll know that it's about done whenever it smells like heaven in your kitchen. What we are doing basically is frying the outside of that skin and making it crisp and brown. Now, we are going to reduce the temperature of your oven to 250 degrees. Very low. Put the lid on the turkey. I have a digital thermometer that I use approximately 1 time a year, and this is when. Stick it into that nice big breast of that bird, put the lid on, put the thing out, and set that alarm on your digital thermometer for 165 degrees. Okay, it takes approximately 20 minutes per pound at this temperature to cook a bird. So when you're thinking about, when do I need to put my turkey in? Look at the tag. How many pounds is it? It's going to take about 20 minutes per pound. And then you're going to just leave the lid on. There's no basting. Don't look at it. Don't open it. Don't open your oven. Don't do anything. Just leave the bird in there. When your timer dings, you're going to take it out. You're going to keep the lid on. You're going to let it rest for about 20 minutes or so. During that 20 minutes, you click that oven on, you get those rolls done, okay? This is a great time to get the rolls cooked in the oven. Then, after the 20 minutes again, you're going to take off the lid, set it on whatever platter you usually carve a turkey on. You guys, it looks beautiful. It tastes delicious. And whether you get white meat or dark meat, even the leftovers are juicy. Okay, even the leftovers are juicy. It is a fantastic way to cook a turkey. And you guys will notice I basically did the gross thing at the beginning where I separated the skin from the bird. It took 5 minutes. And now I do not do anything except press a couple buttons on my oven. It is the easiest way to make a turkey. There's no basting. There's no marinating. There's no, none of that. There's no bags of plastic around your meat. Don't do it, okay? This is so easy. And you may be wondering, if your bird's cooking in your oven at 250 degrees, how do you cook your other sides, okay? So I'm going to touch on that. I have a triple crock pot, which is like the best invention in the history of inventions. So I pre-make my whipped sweet potatoes, my green bean casserole, and we make something called creamed corn. So I pre-make those, put them in the crock pot inserts, and have those in my outside fridge. When it's time, Thanksgiving morning, I stick those in the crock pot and turn them on low. They're ready to go by the time we're ready to eat. You can also, like with it being 250 degrees, the Pioneer Woman has a fantastic mashed potato recipe that you basically can make ahead of time. You put it in a casserole dish, cover it with foil. You can put anything in the oven at 250 degrees and it'll warm up eventually, you guys, right? Like you just kind of leave it in there. Use more butter than you think you should. Use more chicken stock than you think you should. You're going to be fine. None of these things are going to dry out. So basically the only thing that I have in my oven on Thanksgiving Day are my turkey and my rolls. Think about it. Like when is a pumpkin pie best? Not right after you cook it, right? Everybody wants their pumpkin pie to be a little bit chilled. That's not supposed to be warm. So do as many things ahead of time as you can. I usually take Wednesday to prep everything, even down to my softened butter and the Provence rub. I make everything ahead of time. So all I have to do on Thursday morning is put my things in crock pots, do the turkey thing, which again, we talked about takes like 5 or 10 minutes. And then I get to look at, the newspaper advertisements and watch the parade with my kids and not be like a crazy woman running around the kitchen thinking, look at all these things I have to do and none of you people appreciate it. There's none of that anymore. We can just enjoy our day. And who doesn't want to do that? You guys, like, everything's made ahead of time. And even the sangria, if you do it right, have a glass, right? Watch the parade, drink coffee, circle obnoxious toys in the ads with your kids. Like, just enjoy your day. There's no reason to be in the kitchen all day. So people will ask me, oh, I don't know how you made all that food. Well, I made it for 3 days beforehand, and then I enjoyed my day. Yeah, so that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, are you available to hire, like, if I get you a plane ticket, can you come out this way? Because Betty Crocker, you made that sound so easy. But
I would pay you to get me out going to Branson with my in-laws.
Right? Well, my in-laws are coming here.
Yay! No, Kenzie, this is like easy that anybody can do it. Like, it's
right?
really.
I know. I'm so excited to give my husband this recording and be like, here you go. This is everything.
Yeah, no kidding. So, Amanda, with your mashed potatoes.
Yes.
Do you put anything in your mashed potatoes?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you use the 2 different kinds of potatoes.
No, I actually I prefer Yukon Gold mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving. They have a nice buttery flavor. I will take. It's got the Pioneer Woman recipe has like seasoned salt in it. It's got butter. It's got cream cheese. And I mean, come on, they're delicious. And then I like the look of rosemary and thyme herb in my potatoes. It's beautiful. But I will always give it a drop of rosemary and a drop of thyme. If I'm putting that herb in something that I'm cooking, I will go ahead and put these in there too.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You made my mouth water just a little bit. I was not, I'm like, I knew it was going to be good, but oh my goodness. That was awesome. That was very cool. I love the sangria idea. Because technically, for those that don't drink, they could totally pick a different liquid.
Yeah, like you can omit the white wine and the brandy altogether. Like, think about what's left. Apple cider, good. That's a good thing to drink.
Yeah.
Ginger ale, super duper. And pineapple juice, cool.
Like, yeah.
That would be delicious.
If you added a touch of cranberry instead of the wine, might be. I mean, you could do so many different things because like we do, what is the cider? It's why can't I think of the name now? Where it's stewed and it has the oranges and the.
Oh, like a mulled wine? No.
What is that? Wassail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wassail. That's what it is, which is amazing. But the sangria sounds delightful. And I love the idea of the brown sugar with the cinnamon around the rim.
That's like the name of my game, like the tiniest touch that kicks it up a notch that looks like super fancy, but really you're just faking it, and then you get to taste sugar.
Who says you're faking it? You got it figured out, that's all.
In some areas.
Awesome.
Some areas.
I was like, oh, yes. So does anybody else have questions for Amanda other than, hiring her out?
I think Chrissy may have a question, but Chrissy, you'll need to unmute yourself. Do you not? Were you just looking at your hand? Okay, never mind. Ignore me.
Okay.
Can't do this when you say somebody has a question.
Yeah. But that's delicious. And I love doing stuff with my bird. I rarely ever put my bird in without something. So separating and putting the butter in there sounds like an amazing idea.
I love this. I'm going to stop the recording and we're going to do a giveaway.
Okay.
Okay.